Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today. And though you've come through many obstacles.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to episodes 9 and 10 of Amphibia, Season 2, specifically. So I'm holding it at 2 episodes today. And that's because it just feels right to do 2 episodes today. I'm recording this the week that I'm going to be going to TriCon, so it's just like there's a lot I have to do this week, so I don't want to overextend too much. I just want to make sure that we hold things back a little bit, but also get to everything we need to and all. So yeah, we're holding it at 2. I mean, we're getting a lot of big story-related stuff. We've met the king. We're hanging out with Marcy. We're doing stuff around the capital. Excuse me. It's definitely very different so far than Season 1. And I mean that in a very good way. Season 1 it took a lot to get to the good stuff. There was a lot of slow build up to things. Season 2 is definitely hitting things more right from the beginning, and it's just getting into things a lot quicker. I mean, episode 6 we already got Marcy. That's like what, 4 episodes quicker than we got Sasha in Season 1. So some notable differences here. They're definitely handling it differently, and I appreciate that. Now we move on, and I don't know what to expect. I don't know where this is going to go. I don't know what's going to happen. But all I do know is that the king clearly cannot be trusted. It's so fucking obvious. Like, even if they didn't give us that small scene in the Marcy episode, the Marcy introduction episode, episode 6, even if they didn't give us that small scene at the end, showing him being ominous with the like chess pieces of like Anne and all, even if we didn't have that, just nothing about him seems trustworthy right now. He actually comes across as extremely untrustworthy. I don't believe that he's good. But we'll see. We'll see. I could be wrong. That might be the point. They might have wanted us to overanalyze it. I don't know. But I'm definitely excited to see where this goes. Season 2 so far has been drastically better than Season 1, just in terms of overall quality. Although it hasn't had any like huge standout episodes quite yet. Like, it's had a couple really big episodes, but like, you know, the ones that were like my favorites from Season 1, like with the Spores, Children of the Spores, I think it was called. It's like we haven't had anything like on that level by any means. But I'm still interested to see what we get for this this set of episodes. Again, 2 episodes, 9 to 10, which means 4 segments. Hopefully they end up being good. I'm enjoying Marcy so far. I have no issues with her. And I really like just how she's portrayed and everything. If the king is bad, I don't think Marcy's in on it. I think that she's probably being tricked as well. That this is all some kind of big scheme by the king. Though for what reason, I don't know. But he does want the box. He does want the box that they came here with and that Hop Pop currently has buried. So that's concerning. That box is obviously important. Yeah, I don't know what to expect from this, but I've kind of been saying it every time, but I want to mention it again. It's wild to me when I pick up a show that I previously dropped, whether through your guys' donation rewards or otherwise, and I end up loving the show after I had already dropped it the first time. Because a lot of the times it ends up being where the point I pick it back up at is where it actually started to get interesting, and I just dropped it like one episode too early, basically. It's like that's happened a weird amount of times. But I'm glad I got back into this because it got a lot better after where I originally dropped it. And I originally dropped it like at the beginning of season 1. So yeah, there's been a lot of upgrades for sure since then. The introduction of Sasha, just the story beats it's taken. So yeah, I'm definitely excited. And I'm wondering how Sasha's going to be reintroduced to the group dynamic here. And when. I accidentally hit my mic there. Sorry about that, if you heard that. Like, is that going to be a mid-season thing, or is that going to be later on? I don't know. She and Grime got away from Yunnan, who I really do want to see again. She's just a joy. Yeah, I don't know what to expect on any of this kind of stuff. So I guess we're just going to have to go right into it and find out. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black, then it fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. God, that got to be a lot more than I thought it would. Wow. Oh my god. I want to start off by saying I don't know if anyone was necessarily waiting for episode 10. I don't know what happens in it, obviously, but if you were waiting for episode 10 reaction and I disappointed you by not getting into it here, after all, I apologize. It's just, again, I didn't feel right continuing after that. I felt like that was it's one of those episodes that it's a perfect stopping point, and I think having it kind of secluded to itself is the right move. So let's talk about this. So segment 1 was Little Frog Town. This had 2 plots in it, an A plot and a B plot. The problem is I can't tell which was supposed to be. I think Hop Pops was supposed to be the A plot, but it the B plot, I guess, then with Anne, which I guess is the B plot because of how unimportant it was. It got kind of the same amount of time, I feel. I might be wrong, but it felt like it did. Or at least it didn't feel like it was just thrown to the side. So the B plot has Anne, Polly, and Sprig getting in line for an arcade after Hop Pop goes to meet an old friend who ran a sandwich shop. So they get in line for the arcade, which is apparently this really big thing. And this kid ends up cutting in front of them. Anne is annoyed by this. She has, I guess, this strict idea about line cutting and all. And the other two are just kind of very meh about it. They don't care. They don't mind. It's not a big deal to them. Even though at that point they had been waiting in line for 3 hours. It's at that point I would get a little annoyed too, to be fair. But Anne was still taking it too far, which I'll get to. Because Soon, some of that kid's friends came along, angering Anne even more, and she finally snapped and started to complain to them. They were basically, being kids, and it's like, oh, what are you going to do about it? And so she fucking threatened to eat them. I know she was just trying to intimidate them, but still, that's not really okay. They're children. She's threatening to eat children. There's nothing about that makes that okay. So she was definitely in the wrong here and deserved to be kicked out. Polly and Sprig, I don't think deserved it though. They weren't involved in that. But meanwhile, the A plot focused on Hop Hop trying to find his old friend after it looks like his shop was ransacked and he was kidnapped. It turns into a detective noir story, and his old friend Sal, we find out, had been running a factory. Hop Hop thought that his friend, that Sal, was a lot more like sticking to his old soul and wouldn't sell out and everything. So Hop Hop is going around the city, falling to like this party and everything to try and find like sources of his friend's godlike sauce, which reminded me of the special sauce in Good Burger. If you've ever seen that movie, you should, by the way, if you haven't. It's great. It's super underrated. It's a fantastic, hilarious film. Starring Keenan and Kel. And Abe Vigoda, who is in The Godfather, is in it as well. And that alone, just the fact that he's in it is fucking hilarious. But yeah, it's a great movie. And in it, one of the characters, played by Kel Mitchell, Ed, creates this special sauce that they start selling at Good Burger. And it kind of reminded me of that. It's like this special sauce that's like really popular and really high quality. Well, Hop Hop ends up going to the factory this sauce is now being produced at, where he thinks they'd stolen the recipe, but it's revealed Sal is running the factory, and that he basically decided to move on from tradition to progress things for the sake of just continuing to progress. It's like you don't have to stick to the past in all things. Sometimes it's actually important to progress. It helps our world continue to run. There's nothing wrong with like enjoying your traditions, but if they get in the way of the world progressing, it can only hurt things. And Hop Hop learns a lesson that sometimes progression is necessary. So yeah, this was a fun segment. I did very much enjoy it. But let's get to what we really want to talk about here. Hopping Mall. This title is not what I expected. It's the episode is not what I expected it to be from the title. I thought it was going to be like more of a typical shopping mall. It was more like an outdoor market. Two, I wasn't expecting this to get extremely serious suddenly. Like throughout most of the episode, it's like fun and everything with little hints of like, yeah, there's some story here. They're building Anne's character and everything, which is a very good thing, by the way. I've talked about before how I thought Anne was a little flat as a character. This is actually helping. This episode helped me like Anne a lot more. Like, legitimately. This episode actually did wonders for me in that regard. But, so we're watching this. They're at the shopping district. And Anne decides, okay, she's given this money by Hop Hop, just a little bit of money to spend on getting a souvenir. And she wants to buy it for her mother. Which, yeah, that's a great idea and everything. She ends up finding, while looking around, this special teapot that incorporates everything her mother loves. It's an antique. It has butterflies, and it's a teapot. Her mother loves tea. So She wants to get it, but it's not for sale. The teapot is actually a prize for this shopping cart derby, which it's like roller derby just with shopping carts instead of like being on rollerblades. And it's like, what? What? When I first heard of it, like before it revealed what it was, I was thinking it was like one of those things where it's like, oh, you go shopping and whoever has like the highest price total at the end wins, or something like that. You know what I mean? It's like you just go to a bunch of stores, grab a bunch of things, and it's like whoever can fill their cart and have the highest total wins. I thought, like, I've heard of that kind of thing being done in real life, but no, it was like an actual like roller derby kind of thing with everyone attacking each other. It's like, oh. But one of the other competitors is Priscilla the Killa and her daughter Pearl. And I'm sure you guys noticed how noticeably I simped at her. I, I've said it before. I'm gonna keep saying it. I have a thing for buff ladies. And buff ladies who are also MILFs and are secret sweethearts, and it's just everything about her is just a massive yes for me. And it's like, I'm a very casual furry, so but it's like I do get into anthropomorphic characters, so that aspect of it is there too, and I think her design is very attractive. I'm into it. So it's like you probably noticed how obviously I was simping for her. And I'm not like ashamed of it or anything, but it's like it's kind of me right now noticing how obvious I was being about it. It's fun. It's funny. But yeah, so like I'm focusing on like that, and then once the derby starts, I'm like focusing on like, oh, this is not what I expected. It's like they're all attacking each other, and it's like I thought like, okay, this is a really good, fun episode. It gives me a really cool character to enjoy. And it's like, okay, so where is this going? And so they're about to hit Polly, who kind of gets in their way. They stop themselves with Priscilla even causing some pain and damage to her already hurt tail to stop herself from hitting Polly, because she's not a bad person. She doesn't want to hurt the baby. And Anne ends up taking advantage of the situation and wins. She wins the pot. And we find out the first thing that made me tear up in this episode. We find out through what Priscilla says about the teapot that her mother was the one who made it. And that is the only thing left of her mother's to remember her by. And of course, Anne being Anne, her heart breaks because of her own sorrow over missing her mother. So she obviously gives the pot to Priscilla, who is extremely grateful. And Pearl even gives this little butterfly brooch that she made to Anne in response. And it's just, it got to me. It did. But then that night, Sprig goes to Anne, and it gets really fucking emotional. And this is the part that really like turned it for me, because I was already very much enjoying this episode, but this scene like hit me hard. And I want to be clear here. I don't have the greatest relationship with my mom, with either of my parents. I I don't end up feeling those kind of same emotions towards my mom that these characters have here. It's not something I can heavily relate to, but I think that's why it got me so emotional. Because I've never gotten to experience that. I've never felt that pure, unconditional love for my own mother because of the issues that we have. And you could, I guess, call it jealousy. You could say that I felt jealous. And at the same time, being someone who is naturally empathetic towards others and gets really emotional anytime I see someone else really emotional, seeing both Anne and Sprig breaking down and crying, it broke me. It broke me hard. The combination of things just destroyed me emotionally, and Anne missing her mother, and specifically even with the issues like she mentioned, like when she said, when she was talking about her mother's singing being bad but that she would give anything to hear it again. Oh, that broke me hard. Oh god. And then when Sprig opened up about his own mother dying, his and Polly's mother dying, like all that time ago, and him never really knowing her, Jesus. Like, this episode isn't anything extraordinary for story development. It gives us some good character development that, like I said, makes Anne a lot more likable for me and a lot less flat. And it even expands on Sprig a lot, too. But the episode as a whole isn't anything, like, absolutely spectacular. It's not anything that really goes out of its way to, like, be at, like, this huge moment for the series. But that's what makes it so perfect. It handles itself in such a natural, just believable way that it's perfect for what it's trying to do. The emotional pull wouldn't work as well if this entire episode were like this big, grand thing. If this entire episode were dedicated to like this big, grand storytelling or character arc or anything, it wouldn't hit as hard. It's because of how real and natural it felt for these characters to go through all of this. And even to be holding it in at points. And it broke me. It got to me. It made me cry. I always say this, but when a show makes me cry, it's something special. And yeah, because this episode wasn't this big grand thing all the way through, and it allowed the emotions to breathe naturally, it's something special. This is probably my favorite episode of the series right now. At least one of them. I acknowledge this could be recency bias talking, especially with the heavy emotions I'm going through right now. I acknowledge that. And I'm willing to wait and watch the episode another time or two before I can really judge it. And obviously, I won't make my list for favorite episodes of the season and all until it's done, but just with how much this hit me and how just perfect I truly feel this was handled, I do, at this point at least, see this as my favorite episode of the season so far, and at least one of my favorite episodes of the entire series so far. Specifically 9B, of course, speaking as more segment than episode. It really did, like, hit me. Which I'm always happy for. Like, I always want shows to do this to me. As weird as that sounds, I want shows to make me break down and cry. I want shows to affect me so much that I have a hard time continuing. Because that means it's doing something that matters. And while I may not have the best relationship with my mother and may not be able to relate to this as easily because of that, I know a lot of people will. A lot of people will see this or have seen this, that this will greatly connect with them on. And any show that can do something like that, that can do something that important, it's like, that's a big fucking deal. I'm impressed. I'm impressed. I'm wowed. I'm in wonder. Because it's like, even episodes I loved previously to this, like, I mentioned, I think in the pre-thoughts, I think I mentioned the Children of the Spores episode or whatever it was called. Like, even with that, it's like, I like that episode because of its writing, its referencing, its spookiness and everything. The themes and ideas of it, like, it wasn't because of any, like, huge emotional pull like this. I think this might be one of the first episode segments that I love so much because of that. I think there's been other ones that have made me emotional, but this one hit harder than those for sure. This one, it did something special here. I don't know what you all think of this episode. I don't know if this is a popular one or not. I really hope it is. Because this was excellence for me. I mean, even just ignoring the hot buff lizard MILF. It's just, even ignoring all the roller derby fun and everything, this was just, the emotional pull of this made everything in this episode come together and work. And it's just, God, I loved it so much. But that's why I couldn't continue. I was so emotional. I was so wrecked at the end there. It's like, I don't think even if I wanted to at that point, I could. I felt like it was right to end it off there, because it was like, it just felt like that kind of episode. But also, even if I were going to continue, I don't think I could. After that, I was a mess. I took a little break between recording the reaction and the afterthoughts because I was a mess. Oh, it hit me hard. But again, like I said, that's a good thing. So I'm happy that it wrecked me. Tell me in the comments below what you thought of this episode of Amphibia. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.